Burkina Faso's military-led government has dissolved all political parties and scrapped the legal framework governing the operations, according to a decree approved by the West African Nations Council of Ministers on Thursday. A draft law dissolving political parties will now be sent to the Transitional Legislative Assembly as soon as possible, according to the Territory Administrative Minister, Emile Zabo.
For decades, Africans were told that democracy meant choosing between the same faces, funded by the same foreign interests, protected by the same broken rules. Every election promised change. Every election delivered the same poverty, the same insecurity, the same humiliation. Then Burkina Faso did something nobody expected. No speeches, no Western approval, no foreign observers. On January 29, 2026, the country erased the political system that had failed it for generations. Over 100 political parties, symbols of division, corruption, and outside influence, were dissolved in a single government decree. To the world, it looked shocking. To Africa's youth, it felt like relief. Because this wasn't a ban, it was a reset. But how did a country reach the point where deleting the entire system felt like freedom? And what exactly was Traoré trying to break away from? Let's find out. The political system that Burkina Faso erased in January 2026 was not destroyed overnight. It had been collapsing for years, long before any decree was signed, long before Captain Ibrahim Traoré became a symbol of rupture. To many young people across the country, the system did not feel like a democracy. It felt like a marketplace where power was traded, where elections were transactions, and where parties existed not to serve the people, but to negotiate with foreign interests and local elites. Before the coup, Burkina Faso had more than 100 registered political parties. On paper, that looked like pluralism. In reality, it created confusion, fragmentation, and endless competition for donor money and foreign recognition. The same names recycled themselves through coalitions and scandals. Campaigns were funded by external partners while communities struggled with insecurity, hunger, and displacement. Insurgent attacks increased, yet politicians argued over seats instead of safety. For Gen Z, this system felt disconnected from reality. It spoke the language of democracy while delivering instability. When elections failed to protect the country, people stopped believing in them. Voting no longer felt like a path to change. It felt like a ritual that benefited everyone except the citizens. Each election cycle promised reform. Each cycle ended with the same broken institutions, the same dependence on outsiders, and the same growing threats. By the time Ibrahim Traoré took power, the system was already hollow. Political parties existed, but they had lost moral authority. Their legitimacy depended more on foreign approval than on local trust. Their survival depended on funding, not performance. The people had not been choosing their future. They had been choosing between managers of decline. When the military first suspended political parties after the coup, many young people did not protest. They waited. Not because they loved military rule, but because they were tired of a system that pretended to offer choice while delivering stagnation. They wanted proof that something different was possible. Over time, it became clear that reforming the old system would only rebuild the same structures with new names. The same networks would return. The same incentives would remain. The same failures would repeat. The problem was not with individual parties. The problem was the architecture itself. So when the final decree arrived, dissolving all political parties and transferring their assets to the state, it felt like the end of an era that had already expired. It was not experienced as repression by many young citizens. It was experienced as a reset button, a moment where the rules of the game were finally broken. This was not about silencing voices. It was about removing a system that had lost credibility, lost effectiveness, and lost the trust of the people it claimed to represent. Traoré's message was not that politics must end, but that fake politics must. The old system had failed to protect Burkina Faso. It had failed to unify it. It had failed to make it sovereign. So it was not reformed. It was replaced. But if the party system was the problem, what kind of system is being built to take its place? What is being built now is not chaos, and it is not a return to the past. It is an attempt to create a system that does not depend on foreign approval, elite sponsorship, or fake competition. When political parties were dissolved, a vacuum did not appear. A new direction did. Power in Burkina Faso is no longer moving through ballots that change nothing. It is moving through a centralized state structure designed to act, not campaign. Decisions now come from a single authority chain, from the leadership to the councils, from the councils to ministries, and from ministries to the ground. No rival parties are fighting for funding. No election cycles freezing progress. No political sabotage disguised as debate. The state is no longer divided into teams competing for power. It is organized as one body working towards survival and independence. To Gen Z, this feels like something entirely new. For the first time, power looks focused instead of fragmented. The government speaks about security, sovereignty, industry, and dignity, not election schedules and donor requirements. The old system needed foreign recognition to survive. The new system is trying to survive without it. This is why Traoré's government does not describe itself as temporary. It describes itself as transformational. The goal is not to manage the old order until elections return. The goal is to redesign the state so that elections are no longer the only source of legitimacy. In this model, legitimacy comes from performance, protecting the country, controlling resources, and refusing to be managed by external powers. For supporters, this feels like liberation from a rigged game. No more choosing between parties that all answer to the same interests. No more pretending that a vote equals power. No more waiting for permission from embassies and international institutions to define the future. This new structure also changes political time. There is no campaign season, no electoral clock, no pause in governance for political theater. Projects can move without waiting for public approval cycles. Decisions can be made quickly. Mistakes can be corrected without fear of losing elections. For a country facing insecurity and economic pressure, speed feels like survival. But speed also brings responsibility. When there is no opposition and no electoral pressure, the state must create new ways to listen. Otherwise, unity can become silence, and loyalty can become distance. Support today is strong because people believe in a break from the past. But belief alone cannot carry a system forever. This new order is not finished. It is still being shaped. Its success will depend on whether it delivers real improvements, not just symbols of resistance. Schools, food, security, energy, dignity. These are now the measures of legitimacy. Traoré has not ended politics. He has changed where politics lives, from party offices to state institutions, from campaigns to outcomes. But this raises a deeper question that cannot be avoided. If legitimacy now comes from performance and sovereignty, what happens when people demand proof that the system is truly delivering? Burkina Faso is no longer just a country in transition. It has become a symbol, a test case for something many young Africans have been dreaming about, but never saw happen. A real break from systems that never belonged to them. Across Africa, Gen Z has grown up watching elections that changed nothing. Leaders who spoke the language of freedom while serving foreign interests, and political parties that multiplied without solving real problems. In that environment, what Burkina Faso is doing feels radical, not reckless. Traoré's leadership has become a mirror for a generation that wants dignity before procedure, sovereignty before permission, and results before rituals. To many, this is not military rule. It is a reset of power away from outsiders and toward Africans themselves. That is why the eyes of the continent are now on Ouagadougou. From Dakar to Nairobi, from Accra to Johannesburg, young people are watching to see if this model can deliver what decades of imported systems could not: security, economic independence, and national pride. Social media is filled with comparisons, debates, and hope. Some see danger, others see a possibility, but no one is indifferent. This is bigger than Burkina Faso. If Traoré succeeds, he proves that Africa does not need to follow scripts written elsewhere. That sovereignty can be more than a word, that a country can rewrite the rules and still move forward. But this visibility also brings pressure. When a nation becomes a symbol, it is no longer judged only by its own people. It becomes a reference point. A failure here will not just affect Burkina Faso. It will be used as proof that Africa cannot govern itself without foreign guidance. That is why every decision now carries continental weight. This is not only a domestic transformation, it is a message to the world. Africa is tired of borrowed systems and broken promises. Yet revolutions that become symbols must face a harder test. They must deliver. It is not enough to dismantle the old. The new must feed people, protect them, and give them a future worth believing in. Otherwise, the same disappointment will return under a different name. Support for Traoré today is built on hope. Hope that this reset will become real progress. But hope needs evidence. It needs a visible change. It needs daily improvements that people can feel. That is the true battlefield now. Not politics, but performance. Because once a generation invests its dreams in a leader and a system, the expectations become heavy. And when expectations rise, silence is no longer enough. So if Burkina Faso is now Africa's experiment in a new path, what must this new system deliver to keep that faith alive? Let's pause for a second to say, big thank you to the Black Culture Diary community, where Black voices, stories, and legacies are preserved and amplified. By becoming a member, you're not just supporting the channel, you're becoming part of a powerful cultural movement. Let's continue. What this new system must prove is simple, but heavy. That freedom from foreign control can also mean freedom from suffering. Breaking the old political order was only the first step. Now comes the harder part, delivering real change in the lives of ordinary people. For years, Burkina Faso was trapped in cycles of violence, debt, and dependency. Foreign aid came with conditions. Elections came with empty promises. Leaders changed, but the direction stayed the same. That is why Traoré's reset resonates so deeply. It feels like a clean break from a script that never served the people. But a reset is only powerful if it leads somewhere. The new order is now judged not by speeches, but by outcomes. Security must improve. Farmers must feel supported. Cities must feel safer. Young people must see work, not just slogans. The system must show that sovereignty is not just a political idea, but a material reality. This is where the meaning of legitimacy changes. In the old model, legitimacy came from ballots. In this new one, it comes from performance. The state must prove that centralized authority can move faster, protect better, and build stronger than the fragmented politics that came before. That is the promise many young Africans see in this moment, not perfection, but direction. Yet performance brings its own risks. When power is concentrated, failure becomes visible. There is no opposition to blame, no coalition partners to hide behind. Every success or mistake belongs to the same system. This creates a new kind of accountability, not through elections, but through reality itself. If daily life does not improve, belief will fade. If progress stalls, trust will weaken. Support will not disappear loudly. It will withdraw quietly. This is the silent test now unfolding. Burkina Faso is not being measured by international rankings or foreign approval. It is being measured in homes, markets, farms, and streets. In whether parents feel safer, in whether youth feel hopeful, in whether people feel proud instead of forgotten. Traoré's supporters understand this. They know this is not about replacing one elite with another. It is about building a state that belongs to its people, not to donors, embassies, or old political families. This is why Gen Z does not see this as a dictatorship. They see it as a chance to finally design something for themselves. But chance is not destiny. A revolution that does not transform life becomes another story of betrayal. And history is full of movements that began with promise and ended with disappointment. The difference now will be whether this system can turn belief into tangible progress. Because once hope is awakened, it demands proof. So if performance is now the new measure of legitimacy, how long can belief survive without visible results? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Belief is powerful, but it is also heavy. When a generation places its hope in a system, it does not do so lightly. It does so because it has been disappointed too many times before. For Gen Z across Africa, belief in Traore's reset is not blind loyalty. It is the result of exhaustion with broken systems and imported solutions that never delivered. That belief now creates expectations. People are watching not just speeches, but daily realities. They are measuring change in food prices, electricity, safety, and opportunity. They are not asking for perfection. They are asking for proof that this new direction is more than symbolism. This is the pressure that now surrounds the government. Not the pressure of elections or foreign deadlines, but the pressure of lived experience. Every decision is now personal. Every policy touches real lives. Support is strong today because people feel seen. They feel that someone finally said what they had been thinking. The old system was a trap. But belief cannot survive on emotion alone. It needs results that people can touch. This is the quiet moment where revolutions are either solidified or slowly questioned. Not through protests, but through conversations. Not through opposition parties, but through doubt. Doubt grows silently when progress feels slow, when promises take too long to become reality. The government is now carrying the dreams of millions who want to see Africa stand tall without asking permission. That is an honor, but also a responsibility. Because when people stop believing, they do not announce it. They withdraw, they adapt, they wait, and waiting changes energy. The danger is not anger. The danger is patience running out. This is where leadership is tested most deeply. Not when crowds cheer, but when they quietly expect more. When belief turns into a question, is this working for us? The system now has no external excuse, no rival party to blame, no election pressure to distract. Success and failure belong entirely to the same vision. This is the real transformation, not the deletion of parties, but the creation of a new relationship between power and people, one based on trust, performance, and shared purpose. But every relationship must grow. If it does not, distance forms, and distance creates silence. So if belief is now the foundation of this new order, what happens if belief begins to fade? If belief begins to fade, the system will face its first real test. Not a coup, not a protest, but a question that cannot be ignored. Is this new path truly delivering the future it promised? Burkina Faso has stepped into history as a country that dared to break the rules written for it. It refused to keep playing a game that never rewarded the players. Under Ibrahim Traoré, the nation chose to reset its direction, not to imitate anyone else, but to build something that feels African, sovereign, and unapologetically independent. This moment is bigger than one leader. It is bigger than one country. It represents a shift in how a new generation sees power, not as something to beg for, but something to reclaim. Not as a performance for outsiders, but as a responsibility to the people. The world will criticize. It always does when Africa chooses its own path. But Gen Z understands something deeper. Systems that never worked for you cannot be sacred. Sometimes they must be broken so something real can be built. Now the story moves from words to action. The future of this revolution will be written in classrooms, farms, factories, and streets. It will be seen whether young people find opportunity at home instead of leaving. It will be felt in whether families feel safe, proud, and hopeful. These are the real votes now. Traoré's reset has opened a door to a new possibility. Not guaranteed success, but a genuine chance. And for a generation that has only known broken promises, chance itself feels revolutionary. But history does not care about intention. It remembers outcomes. This is why this moment is sacred. It demands wisdom, humility, and courage. Because the people who believed in this reset are not asking for perfection. They are asking for movement. They are asking for dignity. Burkina Faso has chosen to walk a new road, one without foreign maps, one without borrowed rules. The rest of Africa is watching, not to copy, but to learn. Because if this path leads to strength, security, and self-respect, it will inspire a generation to imagine differently. And if it fails, it will remind the world how heavy freedom truly is. This is not the end of a story. It is the beginning of one that will decide whether Africa's future is written by its people or for them. So the real question is not whether the system has changed, but whether the change will be enough to carry a generation forward. Let us know in the comment section. How do you see this? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.